Hello troops, welcome back to the channel. My name's Ryan, I'm a former commando from the UK. Today we've got another update from Ukraine. It is the 23rd of September, Friday, and we've had quite a bit of movement in the Lyman area. We're going to focus specifically on the counter-offensive up in the north. It's business as usual everywhere else. Granted, it's not really the business we wish was going on in Ukraine, but the focus for us today will be in the northern part / eastern part of Ukraine, the counteroffensive, and what Russia is doing to counteract that, what Ukraine is doing to be able to pursue and push forward. But thank you for stopping by, guys. I really do appreciate the support we've had from everyone, and make sure you smash that like button if you do like this content. If you appreciate it, subscribe to the channel, and yeah, let's just get straight into it, troops. Thanks for being here. So the first thing we're going to do is go through the live UA Ukrainian military map. Gives us a few live updates, and the reason we're going to do this is because it puts a bit of context into the next map, the deep state map. So again, focusing in this region, just southeast of Izium, we can see, and it'll become pertinent in a few moments, that we've in and around this area here, we've had quite a lot of aerial strikes, okay, missile strikes, and there's very good reason for that. All right, Russia are trying their damnedest to be able to repel the counteroffensive, and to little to no good results as well. They're not really coming from that in this. This is proven evident. I'll get through a few articles with you guys, but these here are significant in the sense of it shows that Russia is trying to effectively counteract the counter-offensive which is taking place in the southeastern part of where the Oskil Reservoir is and the river there. That's a natural formation on this place that's hindering both movements. It's hindering the movement of Ukraine to be able to push on forward with the momentum they've had, and it's also hindering Russia with regards them trying to actively defend against these attacks that's taking place. So expect it to slow down considerably in that area. And if we look at today, you know, you can see one or two things happening here, especially around the Kharkiv area. That's where Russia is predominantly trying to, you know, they conducted artillery strikes and stuff there to effectively try and take back that land. So Ukraine have got a bit of a fight up Kupiansk, up this region. And it's going to be something that you're going to see battling out over the next few weeks, I believe, in this area. But what I hope they can do, and I'm talking about Ukraine here, is if they can hold them out here, all right, make Russia use all the resources and stuff there, keep the focus in this area. What's happening here is a bit of a pincer movement, I think. We're seeing a lot of land being taken despite the aerial missile attacks from Russia. Okay, so if we get into the next map, you're gonna see why it makes a lot of sense. So here we are into the deep state map. And it's going to come quite prominent. We're going to rewind maybe a day or two, and you can see the bit of movement in the southeast region, southeast of Izium, about 40 kilometers-ish, in the Donetsk Lyman area. Okay, so Lyman, why is it strategically important? Well, it's quite a populated area, heavily built up and stuff. If they can take that, they take the southern corridor of that newly formed front line, so to speak. But if we look what's happening here, about between 20 and 40 kilometers north of Lyman, we're seeing a bit of traction near the Korovilya area. Just northeast of Studentnok. We've seen quite a bit of land being pushed forward there. What's happening, guys? Well, effectively, Ukrainian forces likely continued limited counter-offensive operations along the Kharkiv-Luhansk Oblast border on September the 22nd. The Ukrainian General of Staff reported that Ukrainian troops repelled a Russian attack on Kupiansk, northeast Kharkiv Oblast. So we're talking about this area again here, where we're seeing quite a bit of fighting going on, guys, to say the least. This area is definitely an area of strategic value, in my opinion. But we are seeing quite a bit happening in this area here. Like I say, the Ukrainian troops repelled a Russian attack there. We're seeing attacks taking place today as well by ways of and means of artillery. Artillery can only be so effective if you're not prepared to push your infantries forward after the artillery strike. But the General Staff report is consistent with Russian military bloggers, various different military bloggers, that Ukrainian troops succeeded in breaking Russian defenses along a line that runs between Dvornchka, I can't pronounce that right, 15 kilometers northeast of Kupiansk, and bypass Kupiansk from the north and cross the Oskil Reservoir / river. Once they push past here, though, it's going to be really hard to hold land. And what I think is going to happen, instead of them trying to hold land in and around this area, I think they're going to focus, they're going to focus holding this area for the time being, with the, with the hope of actually, fighting and gaining the whole foothold on the whole of the southern region here. I believe that's what they're probably wanting to do, and we're going to get into a little bit more information here, what's been taking place. I'm just going to read through a bit more of this information. The Russian military blogger also indicated that Ukrainian forces have taken ground east of Dvornchka and fighting in Tavlisanka, which is reportedly still contested territory, while ISW cannot independently confirm these Russian claims. That's the Institute of Study of War. Really good information on there. They are consistent with previous reports on continued Ukrainian efforts to penetrate the current Russian defensive lines that run along the Oskil River and push eastward. Again, my opinion, that's going to be very hard. What we are going to see is a continued ramping up of the operations that are taking place in this region here. So, what is it saying about this region? Ukrainian forces likely continued attacks towards Lyman today, September 22nd. So we're looking at this region here, troops. So here we've got the blue area, and we've got Lyman, the area of importance. So in order to take this, what I think they're going to do is we're seeing a bit of movement here, and we're seeing quite a bit of movement north of Yarova. Okay, these areas here. What I believe is going to happen is, in order to effectively take Lyman, just steamrolling through is maybe not going to work as good as you'd think. So we've got this area here where they're gonna push forward. They could push forward in Lyman, or this region here, which they've took a lot of land. I believe they could potentially start effectively doing this, taking maybe a little villages here, and then pushing down to take Lyman that way. Otherwise, why would we be seeing movement within that region? So if we look at the movement now, what they're doing, it's almost like a fishhook angle. They're pushing a lot of their forces there, and that's the last update here. I believe they could potentially be taking Karavalya with the intention of pushing forward a little bit, and then once they've got momentum and holding this land here, which could look something like this. They've pushed on through, just like we've seen in the northern areas. I believe they'll start pushing down and taking Lyman that way. So effectively, what you're going to see is we've already got troops on this side of Lyman. We're effectively going to see Lyman under siege, okay, which is going to be really interesting to see what breaks out. But in terms of the pace of the war at this moment in time, we are seeing a more realistic approach to this conventional style of fighting in urban areas. You shouldn't really be taking land as quickly as they did in the northern counteroffensive, but that was partially down to a few things: the lack of will to fight from the Russians, and the sheer momentum and strategical genius by Ukraine. So that's a one-off. These things don't really happen that often in war, guys. And certainly not in these kind of situations anyway. But what we've seen in Lyman, in this area here, is a more realistic approach to the pace of things. You've got troops that are bedded down in Lyman, and you've got Ukrainians strategically trying to push on through with also mitigating and limiting the chances of them actually losing manpower, because we need to think about this, guys, all right? They can't just push through willy-nilly and effectively trying to risk all of their lives. They have to do this strategically, and I believe that's what we're seeing in this region here, pushing on through. And potentially, once they've took that land, if Russia is still holding Lyman, they're going to probably surround it under siege, and they'll take it that way. More strategically beneficial for Ukraine. How Russia responds to that, well, we've seen them respond in a certain way anyway in this region, as per the other map that we've seen, and it looks a little like this. Once I get my pen up. we've seen, and this isn't exactly where they are, but we've seen them trying to repel Ukrainian troops by doing the same old tactic, aerial missile attacks. Again, they're not as effective as people would think, especially when you've got the momentum and you're pushing forward. And we're seeing that now. All right, these aerial strikes and stuff. It's almost like the half-efforted type of counter-attack on Russia's behalf. It's not really working. And you can just see off the map, guys. All right, it's not holding them off at all. They've got the momentum. They're just pushing through. So that's what's going on in that area there. So what else have we got? Russian sources also stated that Ukrainian forces broke through at Ruzzia Yar, 22 kilometers northwest of Lyman. So that is, let me see if I can find it. It is, right, okay, so here we are. So Lyman, we got all the way up to here, Ruzzia Yar. Quite a prominent little place to take there. But yeah, if they're going to push on through there, my idea is they've had to push through this region here. Okay, they've pushed through this region. Maybe next is Karpivka, and then moving on to this little town here, which is possible. And I think they're going to take these little towns, guys. All right, they're gonna do it that way, potentially pushing on south to Lyman. This is the only way I can see them doing it. Otherwise, what would be the point in punching through that that area there? I don't see any other point when the target is Lyman. Really, that's the area they need to take. So we've seen them push through to Ruzzia Yar. They're going to push through here, potentially pushing on through. I don't see them pushing too much further than this area here. And then I think we're going to see a small takeover of all of these towns, pushing their troops southward down to Lyman. Once they get close to Lyman, then I think the troops are going to push in from both sides of that little border there. Once they take Lyman, I think it's going to be an easy push eastwards up until this. I call it a border. You can see this prominent feature. I think it's a railway track. And then potentially taking all of this land. Again, we've mentioned the Oskil Reservoir. Quite a massive feature, guys. Okay. Quite a massive feature indeed. And I believe if you want to take this area here, the Oskil Reservoir, you have to really take this area first. Okay. Everything southwards, a little bit eastwards. And then what you've got effectively is a southern area under control by Ukraine here, with the intention of potentially pushing the troops northward, both northward, pushing the troops north, and then pushing eastwards as well. So you're going to have almost like a two-sided conflict here, pushing the Russians over this way. Potentially, okay. And again, I'm not a military strategist. I'm just trying to think what's going on the ground. We've actually been quite accurate on these things so far, guys. But it's good news, all right. It is a little bit slower, so don't worry about the pace. The pace is more representative, actually. How it should be. Okay, they shouldn't be pushing through as quickly as they have done. Great if that is the case, but Ukraine's got a bit of fighting to do at this moment. It's going to be push and pull up until they get Russia's. This Oskil Reservoir is the reason why. It's a major feature on the ground here, and it's going to slow things down massively, guys. But hopefully you enjoyed today's update. There's not that much going on. There's a lot going on, but there's not much in terms of the pace of what we've seen last week and the week before. But it's certainly good news. Ukraine are fighting, all right? They're having to do a lot of fighting at this moment of time. This is where they might not be pushing the troops back as quickly. That defeat will have hurt the ego of the Russian soldiers, so maybe you're seeing a little bit more pushback from them. But it's going to be a bit doggish now, the fighting, especially on that southern tip, just north of Slovyansk, up until they push through to Lyman. Lyman's key here. Once they control that southern corridor, I do believe that they're going to be able to push on forward northward, and then everyone in Kupiansk on Ukraine side can almost push them out that way. But in order to free up Kupiansk and stop the fighting being so intense there, and to remove Russia, I think you're going to have to remove Russia from that south region of Lyman, personally. And yes, it's a long way away from Kupiansk, but I believe once you control the southern border, it kind of traps Russia on two sides. So the only real way they can go, once you've trapped them this way, we already hold the advantage this way. Okay, the only way for them to go effectively is maybe through this little corridor here, the hell out of there, or backwards into this region. And then, you know, once if that happens, this whole block here is Ukraine's. And then are we really going to see that much traction in this area, or is it going to turn blue as quick as this part did? I think once we take this southern corridor here, I think we're going to see a lot more movement in the region here. Okay, guys, but that's today's update. If you do appreciate them, please smash the like, share, and subscribe to the channel. And I just want to say a personal thanks to everyone who's watching, whether you're a military veteran or not. If you are serving or current serving or formerly serving or aspiring to serve, I want to say thank you for all the support. It really does make a big difference to me and my time on YouTube, guys. And yeah, thank you very much, troops, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you.